Lady, you are a nut.
What?
You withhold information right and left, act like you're this open book, and I just had to get this nugget out of you that I don't even know why it occurred to you to say it. You weren't going to share it.
What?
Our listeners need to know.
Okay, tell them then.
Keeping that information to yourself. I'm not sure of your motives at this point, but friends, I've got you. She's not going to help you. She's keeping information to herself. She just happens to mention that Dr. Jones, the Dr. Jones, is going to be at the Leadership Summit.
Yes, he is. He's coming.
You got me so excited, and then I was like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you share that?
And the crazy thing is, and again, this will put some people to shame that are still sitting on the fence, people are going to think that I just invited him. Come on, Dad, join the summit. No, he bought a ticket to the summit. He is going to be in the summit via ticket path, not even because he knows the person leading it. So that's in true Dr. Jones fashion. If you want to meet the man, Dr. Jones, then...
If you've not met him, he is precious online, and then wait till you see him. He's just preciousness walking around. It could not be.
Yep.
And you were going to keep that nugget to yourself. Good grief.
Oh, so sorry. But thanks for spilling the beans. So, Friday.
I got y'all.
Friday, September 18th. Meet the man. Leadership Summit.
What's up, lady?
Hey. How's it going?
It's going. I feel like it's been a little bit since I've seen you.
I know. Why? We got to quit doing this. Going on these stretches of...
Life?
Wait, what? Let's paint a real clear picture here. Our stretches of 2 weeks.
I think this time it was 3 or 4.
Was it?
Yeah, because last week would have been 2 or 3 weeks, and then you weren't able to meet up, and anyway.
Oh yeah, I guess it was. Gosh.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us?
It's called life. Make it stop.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a topic here. It's kind of boring, more or less, but I think should be very useful.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I feel like now more than ever, new things. I feel like there was a time earlier on in my career where, and maybe it was just because it was pediatrics and there wasn't that many new things coming out.
Yeah.
And now I feel like between software and AI notes and lasers getting updated, all of these things that it's how do you implement new things? I think we've talked about this briefly in podcasts a while back, but I think it's fresh on my mind because had a kid about 2 weeks ago, and I think the kid's 9 years old and already has etches starting between 8 and 9. And I know for most people it's not a big deal. I'm just that to me would be devastating if I had cavities between my teeth.
Yeah.
Because I just know, at 9, if we already have to do composites, then what's the trajectory of those teeth?
Yeah.
So I just find it devastating. And I was thinking, what are our conservative options here? Would we do Icon? Oh, wait a minute. There's Curadont that I keep reading about and hearing about that apparently has been all abuzz in the pediatric journals, but I still have been I don't know. My hesitation is incorporating something that all the steps to incorporate. So we're about to get into that. So anyway, I asked my associate and I said, hey, in the practice you were in before, did you ever use Curadont? And he said, no. And I said, okay. And he said, we did have a rep come to the office and talk about it, but ultimately the doc decided not to move forward. And I said, well, were you okay with that decision, or did you like it? He's like, I honestly don't remember. He's like, I think I remember going, we both thought it was a good product in theory. And I said, okay, I think my guess is what probably happened, and it's similar to what why I haven't incorporated it thus far. I tend to be one too, when a product is more on the newer side, and whether it's truly newer or just newer to my sphere, maybe it's been out there for 20 years and I just didn't know, right? But if it's a newer product, I tend to be I don't know about this. I want somebody else to be the guinea pigs before I try it out in my office. Anyway, so I was like, what are all the things that could limit be the roadblock to incorporating something that you want to incorporate in your practice. Yeah. And so I just thought, this for very practical purposes, if it helps anybody out there, just making sure, and honestly, even for team members, I think this is a good one for team members going, well, Doc took us to the Southwest Dental Conference this weekend, and I saw this great product, and now she's saying no. Why bother? Why am I trying, or why? And I think just kind of that global, how do you make sure you don't fall into a rut because you're scared of all of these steps? So I thought if we could just talk about all of the steps, like things that I think about, that if we were to implement this new product, new technology, new software, new sensor, new whatever it may be, I think there's a lot of things that we have to consider that on the surface it might be like, what's the big deal? Just switch a root to that. And I think for a practice owner, there's a lot that we have to think about other than just cost.
Right.
Like the cost is a big one, right? But then after you can get past that to go, this is an investment to better my patient care. So what am I doing? And I just thought it would be nice to kind of just talk about like some of the checklist things too.
It's a good topic because it applies to so many things. Like you said, even a new product that we want to recommend. Are we bringing that in-house? Are we selling that? Is there sales tax that we need to worry about? Do we need to report that to the CPA? I mean, like even something as simple as that there's a lot of steps involved. And I know I have experienced with teams that they're really excited about something. They'll come away from a conference or something like that, and they're really excited about implementing something, and then it takes a long time. Like steps are happening to incorporate something new, but they wanted to be able to come back and use that within a couple of weeks. And it's like, oh no, we've got to get the product in. We've got to create a code for it. We've got to figure out who are we recommending it to, which patient is a good candidate for that. How are we recommending it? What are we saying about this product or technique or whatever? So there's just a lot of steps of implementation, which I know can be frustrating to team members, but also sometimes to doctors too. And sometimes doctors are just like, okay, now I'm tired of it and I don't really want to do it anymore. And so it's a great topic to tackle.
Which is where, so I guess if you're a doc trying to incorporate something, then my suggestion is, as we're talking about some of the things to think about, is who can you get on your team to help you? Because that's kind of the point. It's not just as simple as buying the Curodont and bringing it into my practice. Like, right. I wish it was that simple. Yeah. And something that's that simple, that a product like Curodont that's not going to require, at least I don't think, is it going to require a special triturator? Is it going to require it to be refrigerated? Is it going to have to, like, let's assume it just comes in a bottle and I need to dispense it and place it. That's not at all in comparison to switching your Dentrix old school to Dentrix Ascend.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so who can you get to help you come up with all of this? And then if you're a team member, just the recognition to go, there is a lot to do. And then how can you help your doc? If you were the one who was like, I really want to incorporate this product, and if we bought it today, we would get a deal, and I already talked to the sales guy, and he said he would throw this in and throw this and this in. Why aren't you handing over your credit card, doc? Most likely its doc is going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking about all of these things. So if you could even come at it as, doc is going to think about these things. What can I do to help? Yes, I've gotten the cost down. Good job. Yeah. That always, for me, if my team can be like, dude, if we purchase this today, I talked to the guy and he's going to throw in this and throw in this. Yes. And like lower your cost to this. This is the deal at the meeting. I mean, that already makes me feel so much better.
Right. But
then I'm like, do we really need this? Do my patients really need this? How, is this evidence-based for if it's a product? I remember back, this was years ago, over 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And when I incorporated Waterlays into my practice. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I don't even know what all's out there now, but you had Waterlays Plus had just come out relatively recently, and then Solea was just hitting the market, and then there's the something, I'm forgetting the name, Lightwalker.
Yeah.
And so those were the three that I was looking at, and I ended up going with the Waterlays Plus because that's what my buddy used. And so to me, I'm like, I needed somebody who was going to be able to, as I'm going for a pediatric specific setting.
Right.
And so if that's what she uses, then that's what I'm going to use. That's why I picked Dentrix. It's because that's the practice that I had been in. was a Dentrix practice. At that time, we didn't have all these choices either, right? It was Dentrix, Eaglesoft, Open Dental, and maybe one other. It wasn't a lot. But to me, it was like, okay, the people that are going to help me figure out how to build this or how to set this up are all Dentrix people. So that's what I'm going with. Yeah. That's how I narrowed down, like, okay, then stick to Henry Schein, when I was like, well, which vendor am I going with? Because again, at that time, there weren't so many options like there are now. So then I think, like, if I was doing it now, like, how analysis paralysis would hit me now. And anyway, so I think having somebody there to help you figure out all of these details. Anyway, I was talking about the I+. So I ended up going with I+. And it was such a to-do about, first of all, how to even figure out how to use the technology, which kids to try it out on, which procedures to try it out on, and then what are we telling the parents? How are we describing it to the kid? How are we billing this out? What do my notes need to look like? What is the compliance behind, wait, I got to log what with the state board? Wait, I got to put up what kind of signage? I've got to have a laser safety officer. Like, it was just a lot.
Maintenance.
A lot. Yes, a lot of that. Well, then you had my associate who joined me a couple of years later, and it was all just ready to go. Well, he ended up, throughout his years, he ended up being a instructor for lasers with pediatric dentistry and all of that. And I kept telling him, I said, you only had to master the procedure side of it. And I had already gone to all the courses, and I had already so I basically handed you 2 or 3 manuals, and then your generation, y'all are good at looking up YouTube stuff, and you were able to piece it together. Not that it was that easy. He did a lot of work to really understand the physics and understand all of that, but it was pretty well handed to him on a tray to be like, you don't have to worry about the billing. You don't have to worry about the maintenance. You don't have to worry about training the team. You don't have to worry about the laser safety. Any of that. You didn't have to do any of that. All you had to do was learn what settings to use and what procedures to use those settings on. Everything else had already been taken care of. So now that you are working for the company, I mean, like, he was just kind of a contractor they were like, hey, you want to come help us educate and be our pediatric kind of guy. And I said, you have to have components that help the team.
Yes.
And I don't think he really got that because he had never had to go through that journey. And so I'm like, here you're trying to talk pediatric dentist X in California that this is lasers is going to be a game changer for them. And you're teaching them how to cut the tooth, cut the tissue, what settings to use, and all of that. That's great. That is literally only 50% of the battle. Right. Maybe even 30%. Like, that's not the full battle. They're not going to not purchase it because they don't feel comfortable using the equipment. They're not going to purchase it because it costs a shit ton of money. And then the thought of figuring out, wait a minute, I'm responsible for all of this when I get back to my office. Like, I don't have time for that. Yeah. And so that is the leap between if this company's trying to help get you to help them sell this piece of equipment, you've got to talk to all of the barriers, and y'all are assuming the barrier is the financial. But people coming in to be trained on it already know what the financials are going to be. You can Google that piece of information. So now they're coming to go, is this worth the investment? Can I learn this technology? Yeah. And then the ones that like love the technology and figure out how to use it and they're still holding back, you're assuming it's financial. Right. I mean, that may be a part of it, but I would bet money that it's not just because now they're going, well, how do I get my staff here? You mean I got to be the one to hook this up? I've got to be the one to learn how to purge this. I've got to be the one to learn to change the tips. I've got to. Never mind. I'm good. I'm going to stick to my handpiece and call it a day. Yeah. So I would say for like, say, an endo office or a perio office, ones that are really incorporating lasers worldwide, like those are the
front runners.
The front runners who are using laser technology. It's because, in my opinion, it's completely my opinion, but I'm like, their offices are like them and like 2 or 3 staff members. Yeah. And in endo, I don't know, 10 patients a day, 6, perio, 2 or 3. I don't know. Sorry, guys, if I'm offending you. I don't know. That's just what I think. If you're a small single doc and your procedures are like surgical in nature, there's only so many you can do.
It's a slower pace.
So you maybe have more time to figure out how to incorporate, and you're only training 2 or 3 people to do this with you.
Staff size
right.
Sometimes.
So y'all can all like kind of banter together and go, okay, you figure out what it's going to cost, and this is what we're going to say about this procedure. Okay, that's what we're going to do. You've got a pediatric team, a general dental team of 20 people, 15 people, 10 people. That's a lot of people that have to be all on the same page and knowing about how to talk about the technology and making sure that everybody is getting all parts of it. Anyway, so back to like Curodont, even something as quote simple as that. I turned to my associate that day and I was like, okay, I bet you anything your doc probably thought it would be a good product, but then probably got a lot of bogged down in going, whoa. What patients? What
protocol?
What are we charging for this? Is insurance going to pay for it? If it doesn't work, are we back to a composite? Is the parent going to be mad at me? Like how are we navigating all of that? And so I was like, let's sit and talk about that, because if we're thinking about incorporating Curodont, I can tell you one of the main reasons I haven't done so is, 1, in my mind, it was a relatively new product, and 2, just the thought alone of going, wait a minute, who is going to be an SDF person? Who is going to be a Curodont person? Who is going to be a Riemann Pro person? Who is going to be an Icon? Who is going to be composite? My brain hurts, never mind, forget Curodont.
Yeah.
So, but am I serving my patients best if there's a product out there that could that there is a candidate for that's going to respond better and have a better outcome than if we went with SDF, Riemann Pro, Icon, whatever? Like, am I serving my patients the best with letting me dig my heels in because I don't want to go through all of that? So I was like, okay, let's start talking about this. Like, what are our steps? What do we need to do if we're thinking about incorporating this product? Because you too, is it just me? Are you reading all over the pediatric stuff? Like Curodont is becoming more and more incorporated. Yeah. He's like, yes, I am. I'm like, okay, then what are we doing to incorporate it here? Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, I'll pause there. Can you tell me what thoughts you have on?
I mean, so to me, you're hitting the nail on the head that we often don't do it because of the complexity of it. We don't bring in something new, or we delay bringing something in new due to the complexity. So to me, it really is more than just purchasing the product or figuring out where you're going to purchase the product from. It's also what's our implementation plan on this. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat with clients that have made a leap on a laser, for example, but because they never put the work in an implementation plan in place, they're not maximizing that laser. They're not using it near as much as they thought that they were going to. And oftentimes that's a breakdown in the implementation plan afterwards. And so
even down to, I'm now remembering, and it's probably still a popular product out there because we tried it out years ago. It was called POVI 1, and it was like iodine something, and it could have been our answer to for the people that didn't want fluoride, and then you would give these packets to the parents to take home, and they would apply it themselves and something, I can't remember. And I remember my hesitation on that was, wait a minute. So then who are we deciding? Are we letting go of varnish and anything fluoride related, and we're turning into an office that, or is this just for those people? Or is this like, what are the differences in the product? What is the, evidence show of like, so anyway, at that time we decided to incorporate it. But then what I found was a year later, we threw away a whole case that we weren't like it. We were all gung ho about it, like for 2 months, 3 months. And then it sat on the shelves, and none of it, like, you got busy. And then if you have staff turnover or a new associate, and it's like, whatever, I'm just like, well, that was literally $800 in the trash.
A waste.
Yeah, because we weren't using it. And so it's like, why did we buy it to begin with? Well, it was to help a subset of patients, and then we dropped the ball. We didn't utilize it there. Or whenever I have to end up throwing away, like, a Stance rinse. Why am I throwing that away? It's a great product for a lot of our patients, but that tells me that we get busy and we forget to mention that we've got this great rinse that could help with all that gingivitis we're seeing.
Exactly.
So how do you keep up with, and you've got to have all the buy-in. And then is that just easier if I have fewer products to talk about and fewer options? But then you go back to, again, but am I doing a great service to my patients?
Exactly. And I think part of the formula is we sometimes will get extra motivated, like coming away from a conference is a perfect example. We come away extra motivated and want to incorporate 2, 3, 4 new things. And I feel like that's when we shoot ourselves in the foot. So my rule of thumb is, even in consulting, as I'm trying to bring in new systems, new strategies, it is 1 or 2 things at a time, and that's it. And sometimes that can be frustrating for my clients because they're like, I got a list of 15 problems that I need your help solving, and we're just doing 1 or 2 at a time. Or we're incorporating something new in the practice, just one thing at a time. But our brains can only process so many new products or systems or things. So to me, rule number 1 would be narrow it down. If you're coming away from a conference and you've got 3 or 4 things that you're really excited about, put it in order of your priority and go, okay, what's the most important thing? Dedicate the next couple months to just that one thing. Then you can kind of move on once we've gotten a rhythm down with that one thing. The other mistake that I see a lot of offices make is they only will educate 1 or 2 team members on it. So they're like, oh, okay, Curodont, for example, let's bring that in. So that's really the only people that are really going to be talking about that are our doctors and our hygienists. So let's just make sure they get to meet with the rep when she comes out and they get the information on that. Heck no. Those business team members also need to know about it because they're going to have parents asking them questions after the doctor has talked about it. And if that business team member doesn't know or can't answer their questions, now the confidence is shaken in that parent. The perfect example of this, I had a pediatric client of mine that pulled in Curodont about a year ago and happened to overhear a business team member saying to a parent, because the dentist had recommended Curodont, and the business team member was like, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because if it ends up in a filling situation anyway, then it's like you've kind of spent this money on Curodont and now you're going to have to spend this money on
oh my god, like talk about the sabotage, the saboteur, whatever we talked about. Yeah.
And again, it was just because the business team member didn't fully understand that business team member had not been incorporated into the trainings or conversations. And while the dentist tried to do some educating, it just wasn't enough and so that business team member really sabotaged that situation. And also now the parent is mistrusting of the dentist.
Which, that to me is a much bigger problem. Because even if you don't buy into it, that's a huge problem right there. Yeah. But then now, yes, you've basically pit the parent against the dentist. Like,
exactly.
If you don't understand it, shut your mouth and ask your questions later, because clearly your dentist recommended it for a reason. So then it goes back to, do you not trust your own dentist that you work for? Then why do you work there?
Yeah. So full team needs to be educated on anything, even if it's a business system change. Don't assume that the clinical team doesn't need to know about that. And so to me, you got to tackle one thing at a time, and you've got to have the full team at least aware. That doesn't mean they need to be involved in it. They need to be aware of what's changing or what's coming into play. And then you've got to have a buddy in the system. So I think, for a dentist to launch every change in their practice and to be the one that's, doing all the steps to implement this, it's just not going to happen. So you got to have somebody on your team that can help go, okay, we're bringing in Curodont. Let's make a list of all the things that we feel like we're going to need to do to adequately bring this new product into our practice. And okay, now we've got a list of everything we need to do to bring it into the practice. Okay, now how are we training the team on this? Okay, who's tackling the insurance code for this? Okay, who's tackling the price? And you're dividing out that list into bite-sized, manageable pieces while also setting a timeline for completing that. Because if we're just like, oh, here's our list and here's, this person A, B, and C is doing, 1, 2, 3. Great. But now what's our timeline? When do we want to have this completed by? And what communication needs to happen between the 4 of us as we implement take care of each of these steps? Are we meeting weekly about this? Are we just meeting about it in a month, which is our due date. So there's just got to be some clarity on that.
A plan, yes. So some of the things I think that my associate and I were talking about, like, one of the things, if we did decide to incorporate Curadont, how much are we charging for it?
Yeah.
Well, that's not just me going, well, let's see, the bottle cost me $100, so I will charge, $50 a tooth. I mean, we need to look into that. Is there a code for it? Yeah. Does insurance pay it? My billing person and I were just going over SDF again, because we've changed our protocol so many times at how we want to bill that sucker out. Don't worry, you got an email on that, so you can when you get a chance. I email Avalanche you, so when you see that, we have some changes on how we want to bill out SDF. But a lot of the changes came from when we first started doing it years ago. Insurance wasn't covering it, but now insurance is covering it, and so then do you bill blah 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 blah? And so the change that we made the other day. That's in the email. Then my billing person just replied to just me, and she's like, why are we doing this though? Which I had put in the email why we're doing it, but she still was like, but what's the big deal? Well, I guess when we were charging per quadrant, because we didn't want a nickel and dime apparent, like if the Legion was between S and T, we had a quadrant fee. When we've been doing it for so many years that way, and then it came to our attention that many insurances are paying for it now, but you got to bill it per tooth, it can't be per quadrant. Okay, but it still feels nickel and dimey to me. Well, her point was, when we decided to go per tooth, we dropped the fee quite a bit to make it more similar to a quadrant rate. Well, I forgot that. So then I was like, well, maybe we could have left it. Anyway, we went back and forth on it, and her point was, I was like, okay, well, what insurance is paying for it? But things that I hadn't thought to ask about before. And then now we've got some objective data to help us guide us on what we should charge for it. Because a lot of that too depends on what area you're in, and it depends on, for Curadont, apparently you have to etch and scrub and do so. Well, okay, that's a whole different beast than SDF.
Right. It's a completely different process.
So if I'm gonna have to do all of that, that's a lot of chair time. So I can't just charge $20 for a Curadont thing. So, but goes back to the point of, then am I going to have team members that are like, well, their insurance would have covered this. Exactly. If you had filled it. We even had that, I remember, when I was first out of residency, and there were people that didn't want like the E-Plasty sealant. Because I was like, this doesn't go that deep. Let's just kind of open it up and put a sealant on it, thinking that I was doing the right thing for that tooth. Well, that's not covered, but because it's a baby tooth, but a filling would be covered. Can't you just fill it? Okay, so you understand I got to drill into the tooth now. Yeah, that's fine. Is it covered? Okay, do that instead. Oh, so same thing here, where you're going to run into all of that. So one was how much to charge. I think you mentioned this already, but insurance codes. Like, is there a code already? What code do we bill it under? What narrative do we need to send? Like, what is all of that?
And do we have the code set up in our system? Because a lot of times people will only set up the codes that they're using on a regular basis. So the code may already be in your practice management software, but you don't have the fee in there, of course. There's all these settings for each code. Like, do I automatically bill this to insurance? What provider does it default to? So even beyond the code, setting up the code properly.
Yes. Yes, exactly. The consent form. Who's writing that now? And I think my associate, I was like, okay, so we got to come up with a consent form. And he like typed whatever, and he's like, oh, look, Curadont already has a consent form. I was like, okay, great. Like, we'll need to read that, but that's great. That's one more thing we can check off. And then when are we gonna train the whole team on the verbiage for it? Yeah. Then we were like, okay, well, we probably need to reach out and have a rep come talk to us first. So I think that's where we are in the process. I was like, okay, before we do anything else, like, let's get the rep in. But then he was looking online, like, how do you apply it and stuff like that. So luckily, there's a lot of information online that we can do, but it still takes time to do it. You said this already, but who's a candidate? So I think even the kid that I was thinking about, the lesions between 8 and 9, a colleague of mine who is the expert on Curadont, as far as I'm concerned, she wrote like the main article on it for the TDA journal a couple years ago, and I remember her going, it's not a substitute for SDF. There's like certain parameters of what you use it for, and of course I can't remember any of that. I'm like, I don't know. I just know that there was stuff and I didn't want to deal with it. So I'm thinking this lesion between 8 and 9, and so I send it to her, and she's like, oh no, this is beyond Curodont at this point. I was like, okay, so I need to figure out who the candidate is, like what lesions do qualify for this, and then go back and forth between, okay, but is this, like in my own mind, I'm like, okay, if it's got to be where it's not past the DEJ,
Right.
then I still don't think I would want that on a primary tooth, because I could do SDF.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot quicker and easier on the patient than doing all the etching scrubbing. And again, I'm talking without even knowing any of that. The rep has not come in yet. So if I'm wrong on this, people, give me a little leeway here. I'm just thinking out loud of what I would imagine.
You're thinking of systematically, how do I pick who's a candidate, who's not? And then again, you have to be able to determine that as a clinician, and then your team's got to be able to communicate that.
And we've got to be calibrated. Myself and my associate kind of have to be like, if he's recommending Curodont for everything and I'm only recommending SDF for everything, but you saw Billy and I saw Bobby and their brothers, and mom's like, wait a minute. So we've all got to be calibrated on all of this. So then the protocols for using it, taking care of it, back to, again, can it just sit on the shelf? Do I need to refrigerate it? Does it have to be in a dark box? Is it light sensitive? Like all of those things, like that we've got to kind of look at the parameters of how do we keep, does it require a special brush? Does it require a special etch tip?
And then once you know those, where are we storing it? Where are we keeping it? What are we ordering to support that?
Creating our templates for our chart notes.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think that's where we are in the process of going, okay, it's been on the market long enough now that I don't feel like a guinea pig. I think.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say, I guess probably the client I've had that's been using it the longest is probably 2.5 years.
Okay.
So it's like, the good news is I have plenty of my clients who are slow to pull triggers on new things because they don't want to be the guinea pig. They're like, there's going to be your first adopters out there that will use this product, test it out, figure out the objections and all of that. Let them go figure it out, and then you're coming behind, and you have a lot of people then to connect with that are using it and doing it. But again, who are those people? What colleague do you want to talk to that's implemented it? Do you trust their decision making and their implementation style? And so even picking the front runners that went and adopted it quickly enough, picking those carefully, and how do we pick the ones that we're going to talk to? And it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And that's not I think you said this at the beginning, we've got to be careful too to not let all of that stifle us to where we never move forward on anything. That's not what we're advocating at all. We're saying absolutely adopt new things, incorporate new ideas and techniques and tools into your practice, but actually make it worth the investment of time. To truly implement something, you've got to put in the legwork ahead of time, and then the teamwork to make sure that everybody's comfortable with this, whatever you're wanting to incorporate, so that you get your return on that investment. And even if it's, like you said, the $800 box of product that ended up going to waste for you guys, that's still $800 that, even though it's not going to tank the practice, it's an investment of time and energy that you made into that product that never...
And I think where I get frustrated with that is, I think I could have gone either way on that product, but I think it was the hygiene team that was like, this is great, this is really going to help. And I'm like, where were y'all then? Like, where were y'all in helping promote this product and helping us remind that we have this product? Whether that's fair or not, but I just, I think those are kind of my takeaways on this. I think I'm one who comes back from meetings or things and I'm like super gung-ho about something, but I know myself enough now. And then I give it even 5 days later, I'm like, wait, what was that again? What was I so excited about? And why was I excited about it? And so 5 days later, if it's still on my mind and it still doesn't seem stale, then I will move forward. I think the other big thing is, to your point, this is not to discourage people, but it's more to do the opposite, actually, because there are a lot of great things out there that are trying to meet the needs of your patient base and trying to figure out, if you find a product that you're like, my patients could benefit from this, then you need to put in the legwork.
Yes.
But I think a lot of times where the naiveness of going, oh yeah, we're just going to buy it and implement it, and then it sits on the shelf and then we get bitter about it. that's when it's like, okay, well, let's not do that again. Was that POV1 or whatever it was? Like, why did we all think that we wanted it, and then why didn't we want it, and didn't gain traction? And it wasn't one of those things that it truly was. Like, by the time we thought we had the verbiage, we thought we had the coding, we thought we had everything, but at the end of the day, our patients just weren't going to do all those steps.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, we tried. It was a valiant, well thought out effort. But at the end of the day, our patients, there weren't enough that were like so anti-fluoride and were willing to do the steps of that product at home.
Right.
Great, but we tried. So I think that's got to be the thing. It's just not getting discouraged, I think, is one takeaway. Two, big takeaway is get your team on board to help you.
Yes, find your right-hand person that's going to help you implement whatever this is. But then also don't forget your whole team needs to be gung-ho about this. Even if it's not, quote-unquote, their department, doesn't matter. Make sure that they're all on the same page. And don't do it alone. Just to complete all those steps, to think through everything, you want a highly detailed person sitting beside you, at least asking the questions. Even if they don't know how to solve the problem, they're like, with the, what we've been talking about with Curadon, it's like somebody's got to be going, what's the code? And do we happen to know what's it going to cost? You got to have somebody curious enough that's walking beside you on it to ask all the questions that need to be solved.
Might you put together a playbook item for these things to think about?
Absolutely.
And like, how do you assign and divvy it up? And then back to like the team member, I think the other thing that would help is if you are looking forward to introducing this to your practice, hopefully you're not one that just kind of, I guess to me, why do you want to incorporate it into your practice? Do you think it's going to build production? Do you think it's really for the health of your patients? Like, and then communicating that to your team. So to me, like this receptionist business office person who was like, well, I don't understand the Curadol. Why would you spend on this? That to me, I start going, okay, did she not understand why this was better?
Right.
And so have, like getting feedback from your team is kind of the point. It's like, hey, we want to incorporate this laser. Oh my God, I heard that's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but y'all tell me, our patients have been asking for this. What is the number one thing? Like if it was your kid, would you want your kid to have 8 and 9 drilled into, or would you want something preventive? And if you've got a person that's like, well, I wouldn't care. Well, I had to have fillings in my 8 and 9 when I was 8 years old. Then maybe this person is not the right one for your team if her philosophies don't align. And I get that's a whole nother can of worms to go, well, who, at least she can bill, like where am I going to find another person that aligns my philosophies and shows up to work and knows how to bill? Like we're in a different era right now.
What unicorn is that?
But you know what I mean? Like that at that point, then it's like really sitting down with the person and going, okay, I heard you say this. Tell me why you think I wanted to incorporate Curadon. Because clearly I've left you out of that conversation, and I need to get you up to speed on why we had that.
Right. Yeah. And I would say if there is a failure in the launch of whatever, either you've got a team member like that that's commented and said something, counterproductive, or you've got product that went to waste, every new thing that you try to incorporate isn't always going to be successful. You could have the best right-hand person, have thought through all the implementation plan, and it doesn't catch fire in your practice. The parents don't like it, or they, would prefer something else, and it may not work. Okay, if something doesn't work, are we taking the time to stop and dissolve the inactivate the code? We're done with that. We're taking it off of our wall. We had all this information about Curadon. Okay, it's going away. You know what I mean? So it's like we've got to dissolve that effort back and then reassess. Okay, why wasn't that successful? What can we learn from this? Which again sounds cumbersome, but it's like, okay, if the investment didn't work, let's at least take the time to figure out why.
So that way we know for next time, if there's another great product or software or something, to say, okay, this one didn't work. I don't want to just assume nothing's going to work. But what were the takeaways? If we haven't spent the time to figure out why it didn't work, then you could potentially make the same mistake again. And there may be a reason that you're like, oh, if we had just tweaked this, now either this software meets it or our team is different or whatever it could be. But if you haven't taken the time to figure out why it didn't work,
Yeah, exactly.
you could shoot yourself in the foot again.
Yeah. So I would reiterate what you've said. Key takeaways: don't be discouraged. Go continue to look for things to do. Do it in little bits at a time. Don't get too much going at the same time. Get your right-hand person that's going to help you, and then evaluate. And
May I add, when you say the right-hand person that's going to help you, this may be one where I do feel like I used to tend to lean on one person.
Yeah.
And I think throwing it out to the team, because you never know. And that one other person may not be able to do a lot for you, but if you're like, hey, I know there's a consent form somewhere online, can you print that?
Right.
And then can you go find whatever YouTube videos you can find on this and put those links together. Maybe that's that one person's only contribution.
Absolutely.
But at least they're involved now, and it's one less step that you and right-hand person have to do.
Yep.
But it's, again, helping you get team members to buy in rather than always feeling like, oh, well, I'm never involved in that anyway. She doesn't care for my opinion, or I'm not going to, this is their little project. They want to, and no wonder it didn't catch fire throughout the office. So I think communication is what you were saying. And I feel like that's one area where I feel like I got a lot more success once I got better at it, because I really stunk at it for years.
Yeah.
I didn't communicate because I was just in my head trying to do all of that. And I think I missed out on, number one, having the help, but also the buy-in from people. And you may just have some people that are like, nah, I'm good. Y'all just tell me when we're ready to launch and tell me what I need to do. But there are plenty of people too that are like, at least I was asked. At least I was asked to see if I wanted to weigh in on this and what I thought about this. Or like one of my team members is not super, she's just, we call her our little cat. We don't disturb her. She's, she's our...
She knows what she wants, is doing her role, and leave her alone. Let her do her thing.
Right. But I think even if I throw out there and I say, what do you think about this? Did you have any offices, or do you have any of your friends? Can you ask your friends if they use it? I mean, that alone, boom, there's her buy-in.
Yep.
And so, one that I would think that she would rather be left alone, but the fact that I paused enough to say, well, your opinion does matter.
Yes.
And where's your expertise on this? And do you care? And a lot of times, the majority of the time, her answer is, I don't care. I'll just do whatever you tell me to do. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. But she at least got the opportunity.
Yes.
To jump in and say something. And I think you will be surprised at how many team members want to take part in it even in some small way. Not all. I don't think we should have to expect every team member, but I think if we cast the net out, we'll be surprised at how many people want a little piece of it or have an opinion
or
about
even
it.
now, like with all these modules like Canva and other things that people love. There's some people that just love doing it. So now those have become my go-to people. Which one of you wants to create this flyer for Curadon or whatever it is?
Yes.
Like who wants to create the flyer? Oh, I'll do that. So she was happy to not have to do any of the research, not have to look at the code, not do any of that. But she's like, yes, I would love to make you a flyer. Well, thank you.
Perfect. Because we need that. Yeah. I hope this, especially because I know Southwest Dental Conference is happening this weekend, and I know we're heading into fall, which is often lots of different dental conferences. And so to me, hopefully this is encouraging to go, yes, go tackle some new things, but do it in a way that helps you be successful with those changes.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.